Right, welcome back to another episode of Is Success Simple? Today, we've got a special guest, Seamus Evans, who is the founder of Evco. And you've probably seen his beautiful face on the TV many, many times before. Seamus, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you?
Mate, so good. Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be a
Pleasure,
part of it.
Mickey.
I can't wait to get into wherever this podcast takes us.
Man, I'm excited. So I was doing some research before, and do you know what? I thought the first question I'm going to ask you is, Seamus, what is your superpower?
So yes, I do my keynote, turn a flaw into a superpower. I've shortened it to just superpower.
Yeah.
And in this keynote, I share how I turn my Tourette syndrome, ADHD, failing school, and I learned how to redirect my tics so they won't be seen when I was on television. I got a television job at a very young age, at 18 years of age, and it was a dilemma because I was ticking like crazy. I was ticked like a watch. I put my finger in an electric socket and the bosses are like, hang on, what's going on here? So I had to learn how to redirect them. And so, funnily enough, and I actually had a keynote today at a conference, Tourette syndrome isn't my superpower, but it's the skills that it's equipped me with. It's the coping mechanisms. It's the tools. It's the social ramifications that I've experienced from having Tourette's and having ADHD. That is my superpower. It's the stuff that it's given me more so than the actual diagnosis or the condition. Ticking isn't a superpower, but it's the psychological advantage that I've gained from having it, if that makes sense. A very long-winded answer.
No, it does. And that, my curiosity is going off. I'd love to walk through and understand how you got to that point to be able to fully embrace it, because you talk about a lot in some of your talks around the 3 core pillars. So is that something that you went through your own journey to then realize that it's a staple of your life so that you can then teach others to do the same?
Yes. So what I really aim to do in my keynote presentation is never coming from a place of I know the answers or I know more than the people I'm talking to. It's always, hey, this is my story and I'm just going to share it as honest as I can in a way that hopefully you not only enjoy it, but you can maybe learn something as well. Because I feel like we can all learn from each other, and there's nothing worse than you get someone up on stage and not that they're talking down to you, but they're talking because they're a high-end academic. Yeah. I'm not an academic. I failed school. The only thing I have to offer is my experience, and we all learn from experiences. So that's what I push. Yes. So what is really important when it comes to having something like Tourette's or any sort of diagnosis, or let's face it, any trauma or any sort of adversity that anyone faces, it's acceptance. You got to come to terms with the fact that they're the cards you're dealing with, right? Otherwise, we're just playing a game, and we're not going to win if we're just ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist. It's like when people have a wig. You know, they've been bald for 20 years, then they get a jet black wig and just pretend, and just get everyone. It's like, dude. So it's the same kind of thing. We need to accept who we are, what we are, where we've come from, what we have to offer, and it's only then you're able to actually add the value because you know what your ingredients are.
I think that's so important nowadays more than ever, because it's interesting you share, like, because I went through something similar around being brought up and not feeling comfortable in my own skin, being racially abused when I was young, and going through that phase of not wanting to be tall. Like, I was back in the day when I had dreadlocks down to my shoulders. So anything like a true like Rasta Jamaican, like, it was typical, right? And it's fascinating because I think growing up in the neighborhood that I did, there weren't many Black people, and I think I really struggled to accept the way I looked, the way I felt, and it's interesting that you said it, because that is, I find when you do that, because there's one accepting it in terms of, yeah, okay, this is what I am. But then I think there's another level of really accepting it and going, no, I look in the mirror, I get to that point and going, I don't only accept, but I'm actually pleased and happy that
Mm,
I am the way I am. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
I think there's different levels on that. Can you
Yeah.
talk more about that from your end?
Yeah. Well, I fully agree. Yes, you're right. There is a matter of like, it's like if you run out of fuel in a car ride, you're like, oh, great, we've run out of fuel. Yeah, that's accepting it. But then there's going, well, what exciting ways can we get back? Do we walk? Do we hitchhike? Do
Yeah.
we stop and smell the roses? Like, I think what I have learned in my 5 years of being a professional speaker is that, like, because I've spoken in front of every type of crowd, and the small crowds, the big crowds, the obscure little small towns, and the large conference stages, right? But what I've noticed is it's, your challenge, so to speak, was racial based. Mine was neurodiversity based, but we've both felt the same thing. So I can't
Mm,
relate to your experiences and you can't relate to mine, but we can relate to the emotions that we shared. And it doesn't matter
correct.
who you are, what the background is, we've all felt those emotions. So
Mm,
there was a little bit of a early on in my speaking journey, I actually felt like a fraud because I was like,
mm,
oh, but my Tourette's isn't that bad. Like, how dare I try and present as this guy with Tourette's that's overcome the tics when I know people that are 10 times worse than me?
yeah.
And I had to kind of unpack that and go, no, this is still my experience. And and
Mm,
and just because someone might have more or less than me, it doesn't matter. Your experience is your experience, and everyone has trauma.
yeah.
Everyone has
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's fascinating because what you mentioned before around being on stage and not telling people what to do, it's that's so powerful in itself because I think I've realized as well recently over the years that I'm still figuring out my life, right?
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? Like my pathway is my pathway and I'm still figuring that out. So to sit here and say that you should do this or you should that or you shouldn't do this is unfair to do that because that person, whether it's a loved one or whether it's a friend or whether it's someone else, is on their pathway and they see the world different
mm,
to how I see it. And
mhm.
so I think it's interesting that you've identified that so early in your career of being a professional speaker. Did you was that did you say that before you started that you were going to come from that place, or is that something that you discovered on the journey?
What it was probably, I don't know how to explain why I chose this, but it was because I'm not an academic. So it was like well, I can't offer the academia. I can't offer the answers because I don't have them. I failed school. Like, I don't know. All I have in my advantage is the confidence to actually do it. Um,
Mm,
and it's all, I don't know if it was a fear-based thing or I don't know, but I knew that's not what I could offer is is
okay.
is the, I guess, the intellect, because I barely got through high school and I couldn't get into uni. So I wasn't about to jump on a keynote stage and start talking about quantum physics. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't, and plus I started at 30. And they're
Yeah.
like,
It's like
even
me starting this podcast.
yeah. It's like, who are you to try and
Yeah.
you're 30, mate. I was living at home with mum and dad on Centrelink. And who am I to be like, right, here's the thing about life, guys. Like, shut up,
Yeah.
mate.
I'm going to ask you what made you get to that point where you you thought of it and not only thought of it because I've spoken to in this short span of time I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs and it's we all come up with ideas
Mhm.
and coming up with the idea and then having the confidence within yourself to go, no, I'm going to do it. How did you get to that?
I think so. To try and sum up my story, I got a television job at 18 years of age. That
Yeah.
was That was a real moment of right time, right place, right opportunity. I don't like luck because it's preparation meets opportunity. I was prepared, but I got the opportunity and I got it and I was 18. Wow. Then
Wow.
I had 7 years on television, that national television. I did live television. I did multiple shows. I did documentaries. Like I really cut my teeth on storytelling and
Hmm.
playing up to the camera and becoming a personality. Then I really fell in love with radio. Like I listened to the radio on the drive to work and I'd watch comedy and on Australian television, a lot of radio personalities are the talent. And I just felt a calling. Like I just wanted to do that. And so I took a massive leap of faith. I quit my job and I moved to a brand new city where I knew no one, and I just door knocked, metaphorically, like
Really?
phone
Yeah.
calls,
Okay.
door knocking. And I got set. I got knocked back from many radio stations that they wouldn't look at me. I thought, I've got a TV job. Like if you look at most of the people who end up on television, they end up on radio anyway. This is going to be easy.
Yeah.
No, it was a very hard slog of being told no. And then I had to eat some humble pie, go from national television to the promo guy wearing the shirt, handing out the ice cold cans of Coke. It was because I had no radio experience. So no one really wanted to touch me. And I wasn't a
Okay.
big celebrity. Like, yeah, sure, I had television experience, but I wasn't massive or famous or off Big Brother or something. So
Hmm.
then I really pursued radio, loved it, really fell in love with broadcasting and becoming a talent and learning how to kind of provoke people, provoke listeners, evoke emotion and get them to engage with you. Then COVID hit and
Hmm.
they let us go. So a 13-year career came to an end. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's a brilliant career. Never thought it would have happened because of my Tourette's, because of ADHD, because I failed school. I never thought that was possible. I think it's time I give back. So it was a little seed in my mind of, I think it's your turn to inspire the young you to pursue that, because you almost didn't have that career if you
Yeah.
didn't get that opportunity. And you who knows if you would have pursued it or not, but you need the confidence to go for it. And I just remember thinking, it's time I give back, I think.
Um,
Mm.
that's awesome. And it's funny you said that. I got goosebumps because it's it's that calling that you referred to. Is how did you know? Right, you hear it, you feel it, you know.
Mm.
Then walk me through the steps after that.
Yeah. Okay. When I really knew that this was, so I've got many ideas. Okay. We
Yeah,
almost, we
I'm
get
saying.
so excited about a new idea. Then we put a tiny little bit of legwork. Then the idea dies off and you don't get that excited anymore. And then you move on. When I knew that this was actually what I really wanted to do, I had a family friend, my parents' friends were over for lunch, and they were talking to me and asked, what are you going to do now? And I just had so much passion about really wanting to get into schools. And
Hmm.
I had what I do a lot of, and I'm sure many people who listen to this podcast and yourself probably do as well. You get 3/4 through a task and then you stop it, right? Like
Yeah.
you get the excitement of starting it, you get the to-do list, you start it, and just before you finish, you walk away. And I remember I was 3/4 through a one-page document that I'd written just on an A4 blank Word document to send to a school explaining my presentation and what I want to do. But I couldn't finish the document because I'd only gone 3/4 through it, right? Anyway, right in the middle of lunch, I got so excited, said, nah, I can't let this go. I went down into my room, I left them all at the table, and I finished that document and I sent the email. And it was just this matter of like, no, I need to do this. Then what
Mm.
pursued is I remember thinking, well, how am I going to get into a school? I thought it would be easy. I found a list of 1,000 schools across Australia, and one by one, I put them into a database. And one
Yeah.
by one, I called them and I cold called them and then I emailed
Hmm.
them. And then I got up to about 100 a day. I could perfectly
Really?
time it, whereas 8 o'clock in the morning, the teachers get in before 8:30 before the school starts, and they disappear at 2:59. And between 8:30 and 2:59, with a couple of breaks and some push-ups, I could get to 115. I think 115 was my best.
That's
And
good.
yeah, I would just bang, 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 bang,
Yeah,
bang, over and over. And then I got my first one.
yeah.
Now, I'm in the middle of writing a blog on this for my on my website. The first one I got, right, I couldn't believe it. They said, yes, this sounds fantastic. We'll have you. I'm like, yes. This was Cleveland District State High School. This is
Nice.
one of the biggest schools like, this is massive.
Okay.
I was only speaking to grade 9, 10, and 11, and there were 2,000 students.
Wow.
That's big. It's a very big, lots of student high school. Anyway, they said, we want you to do an hour. I said, absolutely. So by this stage, I'd already put my keynote together and I'd practice it a million times, but I wanted to make sure I got it. So I practiced, and I would walk around the neighborhood practicing talking out loud because I wanted to have it verbatim. I wanted to be able to get distracted and my words just shoot out without me even noticing.
Yeah.
I did 25 minutes.
Why?
I got on stage. I just shot through it. I just didn't realize.
It was that of course.
It was a 25-minute.
Of course.
I did the whole thing in 25 minutes. And I was like, I got off stage and I remember these students had a 50-minute block. And then I was like, bye. And then the HB teacher's like, okay, and he just had to make sure he entertained these kids for the next however long.
Wow.
And I learned a very good lesson. Always prepare for an hour and a half if you want an hour. When you're on stage, slow down, sit in the moment, over prepare. Now I can do 2 hours. I've done 3-hour sessions. I've done 15-minute sessions. Anyway, that was a very long story of how I got into it.
But honestly, you won't ever need to apologize for this because this is the whole point. And I think you mentioned something then that was so important that I feel as humans, we learn so much. We learn so quickly from failure. And I think there's, in this day and age, especially with the younger generation, I think there's a negative connotation to failure. Because of how social media it has put people on pedestals in terms of what success is, and people have really, I think, got not a positive relationship with that, and therefore they don't understand to get to success. There's so many failures, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned that. Because obviously, when you get a sale, or when you get your fair, it's amazing. Like the buzz. It's like I've played soccer for years. It's like scoring a goal. It's just like that the adrenaline, and it never leaves you as well. Like it will always, whether you do your first sale when you're 18, 30, or 50, when you get, it's just like yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And
it's
so,
a real hunt.
Oh, it's amazing. And then so when, I guess, talk about, if you can, what your relationship is like with failure and maybe what it was like previously, especially when, because I know at the age of 10, you were diagnosed with Tourette's and so forth. So has it evolved significantly in terms of the relationship? Your relationship with failure.
Today, it's a lot better. Only because for a very long time, I would take failure really personally. Like even, yes, I had a really great broadcasting career, but I was never an A-lister in Australia. I was never on prime time. I was in regional radio and a kids show. So I was never a Hamish and Andy, if you know who they are here in Australia, right? Yeah. I was never the Hughesy. I was never Rove. I was never Kyle Sandilands. I was never the big time. So the whole journey of my broadcasting career, that's what I wanted. And I felt I was always falling short and that I wasn't good enough and that I was failing. So I really struggled with my mental health throughout my broadcasting.
Really?
And then not only that, to mix into it, I loved partying. So alcohol and addiction, that was a real struggle of mine throughout that period as well.
Yeah.
Then when I started this keynote speaking, yeah, it was not days, but I just remember long periods of time, all day, every day, just wishing and hoping for another gig. And then every time there was a sniff of it and it would fall off, like, when you're fishing and you get a nibble and it disses off the
Yeah,
hook,
yeah.
it would really impact me. I would get so angry. I would get so frustrated. It is, to be honest, it's only been in the last few months,
Oh, really?
truly in the last few months, that I have kind of looked at failure. I've embraced it a bit more, and I've more so embraced the approach.
That's
Because this is going to get, hopefully I can explain it properly. But I have removed myself from myself. What I mean by
yeah.
that is Seamus Evans is a brand. Seamus Evans is a keynote speaker. Seamus Evans is the business. Then there's
Mhm.
another Seamus Evans, which is the business owner. So the two are separate. These two hats. And this was a part of the reason of creating Evco, which I'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, and then we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Evco is a creative agency and Seamus
Yes.
Evans is a client of Evco's. And it was
Okay.
only through that where I was able to separate the two and use the Seamus Evans keynote speaking brand, experiment with marketing campaigns, take more
Mm-hmm.
risks, and actually damage the brand. Not on purpose, but I mean, take the risks, bruise it, throw it up against the
Yeah.
wall. Let's see what happens when I post this. What about writing this? Like, when you're in it, it's very
Yeah.
hard to do that because you take it so personal about what your image is. But I removed that, and since then, it's you always get bait half on the hook, and then you lose the fish, right? And I since doing that, I've had more bookings and also not cared when they don't follow through.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's so many different ways I'd like to take that. It's the indifference, isn't it? It's
Mm-hmm.
like, so my background has been close to 15 years in sales,
Mm-hmm.
and I fell into it. So, never wanted to, as a young male in England playing football, the only ambition was to be a Premier League footballer.
Yeah.
That was it. I always thought there's no point of having a plan B because it just gets in the way of plan A. That
Mm-hmm.
was it. And got to the age of 18. I was playing semi-professional, getting paid a little bit of money, but nowhere near enough to live. And mum was like, you need to get a job. Fell into doing door knocking,
Mm-hmm.
and literally stayed in that for anyway, ended up in a career in it. But why I talk about that there is because you've mentioned around like not associating yourself with the result.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to stand back and understand that the no isn't saying no to you or who you are. It's just saying no to no is just basically that they don't yet see enough value in what you're offering to make that decision to be a yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so important in every facet what you've spoke about there, and it's quite hard to compartmentalize that and disassociate yourself from the day to day. But when you do, you then become more attractable because you're not desperate. You don't care. In essence, it's not that you don't care. It's just that you have this inner confidence. It's just like, I understand my value. I understand what I bring to the table. If you don't see it, that's fine. You
Mm.
will do at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, from what that story you just spoke about, it seems like that's what has basically enabled you to now enter potentially another phase of growth.
Mm. One of the defining factors was and this is a business admin side of things, which takes time. And when I first started, and still to this day, I have very limited experience in business and knowledge on business. That's a whole other thing, right? I just know myself and
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
do, and then I try and catch up with the business acumen. But one of the things that I noticed, which allowed me not to be so scared, is 5 years in, I've looked at every year of annual income. And I've seen, obviously, the very first year, which is absolute peanuts, but I've seen an increase every year, right? And even though still to this day, I'm looking between now and Christmas, and I've only got a handful of gigs and a couple of bookings for next year. But if you look at the past 5 years, there's a pattern. And I know that between now and Christmas, the bookings ramp up because I know the cycle. I also have seen the pay significantly increase. So I know if history has taught us anything, or if my business history has taught me anything, is that even though it doesn't feel like it's that I've got booking coming, I know that they're coming. I know the money's coming. Like I know, like, because I've got a track record. Like if a bank is going to give me a loan because they've seen then I shouldn't be panicked. I shouldn't be scared. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that famous saying, isn't it? When you're in doubt, zoom out.
Yes.
And that's it. Look at the analytics, because, and whether it's business, whether it's sales, numbers do not lie.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that was kind of one of the defining factors of not caring. Stepping back, you're right. When in doubt, zoom out. And I zoomed out. That's what.
Yeah. I love that. And so then talk to us about Evco. Have I said that right?
Yes.
Evco.
Yes.
So where did the idea come from? And once again, because I keep saying this as well, and I ask the question for every entrepreneur is, once again, it's an idea, but you followed through with it. So I think that's so important to talk about, because you're now stepping into a field, and this is what you said, which isn't your realm in terms of business, like you said, in terms of maybe the knowledge from, like you're saying, like obviously you have the confidence in yourself and what you can deliver, but it's a business acumen. And so I understand that mental battle of thinking, right, I don't know nothing about this as a business. Like, is it in terms of running the business at the larger scale? So walk us through that.
So what happened was I cut my teeth on broadcast media, creating content, telling stories, television shoots. Like, I love it. I really, really like it. And I haven't used that skill for a long time. And being on stage countless times, being in radio, working with clients. And I think the biggest thing was I've seen advertising campaigns fall flat countless times because I've been on the deliverable end. Every time that I've been a part of an advertising campaign or a marketing campaign or whatever it is, or creative, I'm at the end. I'm delivering it. The sales have already sold to the client. The client have already paid. The creators have already done their spot. And I'm reading it off a sheet of paper in the radio, or I'm putting the ad together, or I'm on the shoot day. And the amount of times I've seen it and gone, why did you do it this way? But this is not how it works. This should be, but this isn't delivered properly. And then watching all of these businesses, and I'm like, man, if I applied what I knew, I could turn that business around inside 6 months. Like if they knew what I know about marketing, about branding, about how they can just not only chuck a new coat of paint on, but have a new spin, how to tell their story and how to connect with people, it would just astronomically change it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll do it. Now, that was an interesting journey of actually getting it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's tough because, it was just tough because it's the business model that I didn't understand.
Okay.
So I didn't fully understand or know. I knew what a campaign or a video or a promotion, or I knew what it looked like. But when it came to telling the client what I want to do, showing how it will happen. Like, I know the end result, but how I convince them, I was a little lost. Then when it came to navigating shoot crew, when it came to navigating all those different little pieces that need to put together for the big picture, that's where I really lacked experience.
Mhm.
Then I had a few great wins, landed a couple of good clients, and made some really great projects and products, and they're up on the Evco website. And then I had to hit the pavement. Calls, just like last time. Calls, emails, hustle, hustle, hustle. Then I started analyzing the market and how a lot of marketing agencies will offset their work. So they'll sell the work and then someone else will do it. And then they'll just do they'll offload to the Philippines and then they'll just throw up the dollar value, right? Now that's fine. That's just how it goes. That's business. Okay. But then I started doing the math and I was like, wait a second. I'm going to have to really do this for a long time to start seeing the same profits that I'm seeing today with my speaking business. I've got a fiance, a house, and a daughter. And at the moment, no money's coming in because I'm dedicating everything to this. And then I met with some agency heads and I met with them and I just investigated myself and I just really kind of analyzed. I was like, oh, this is a long, long process. And I'm starting off the tools, which typically, if you look at a creative agency, it's like a freelancer who then just gets too much work and then he multiplies and then they multiply. And then one day he's off the tools. I was never on the tools. So then how am I going to find these? Anyway, it was very complicated. So what I have had to the really good thing about it is I experimented with it a lot as well because it wasn't a known brand. It's not a known brand. No one knows who it is. So I was able to take those risks. But I got to this point of like, hey, Seamus, you've got mouths to feed. You need to make sure you keep that money coming in the door. Just put it on ice. It's not off. It's just sitting there. And what I still have regular meetings with it with directors and some creatives on bigger projects instead of working on smaller businesses, which is a bit of a passion of mine, but it's now more so larger projects. Like I'm in chats with a creative at the moment about a movie. So we're working out how do we put that together and how do we approach it with like what does the pitch look like? What does the meeting look like? How do we sell it? So it was really good when I went through this growth period, which was a very tough time. It was very tough. And then looking at your bank account going, ooh, come on, let's, I know it works, but let's hustle. And I just kind of had to go, Seamus, accept the fact that it's a long journey and it's going to be project-based. So you're just going to do passion projects and you're just going to do it when there's really good stories to tell. But you are a storyteller yourself and you're a speaker. You can't deny who you are and what you are. It's great to have your passion, but you are what you are and you can't change that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I feel, where's your self-awareness come from to be able to identify these things and be able to pivot?
I actually think it's got to do with Tourette's.
Really?
Because I have to be physically aware of my ticking. I have to be aware of how I'm feeling and I have to be aware of who's looking at me because this is not today. I don't care who looks at me, but growing up, you're always conscious of who's looking. I can walk into a room and I can spot there's 3 people looking at me. So am I going to tick in front of them or not? Now, that's just something I've built up over time. I don't care about that now, but so that visual surface self-awareness started then. Then I'm the youngest of 4 siblings and the next one up is 6 years older than me. So I was on my own a bit, playing with toys and just being on my own. Not in a lonely or sad way, but when you're on your own, your imagination runs wild. And then I think in that imagination, I would reflect.
But you've matured with it. Like, I think it's, and I agree. I think a lot of the things that you're referring to, like a lot of us, there's always the nurture nature argument, isn't there? But have you always been able to listen to your gut, but then like making the decisions that you have done especially recently have been very smart and very decisive. So is there a process that you have that you go through before making the decisions, or is there, or is it just relying on that gut feeling and then going, right, I know what I know.
I think there's an element of gut, but I think it's also trial and error. So again, numbers don't lie. So I think it's looking at the results and understanding,
Okay.
well, do I have enough sample size for this data? Like, is this accurate, or have I not put in
Hmm.
enough effort? Okay, well, let's keep trying. And then, yeah, like there are a few things that I tried with like cold email outreach. That's another
Yeah,
thing I
yeah.
found really interesting. When a lot of businesses, especially with AI now, the AI
Mm,
cold email outreach,
mm,
everybody is doing it.
yeah.
So that cut through is almost next to impossible now, because the amount of emails I get on a daily basis that are just, someone in another country wanting to fast stream my CRM or whatever, some BS, right? I never get through it. Delete straight away. And I always think if it's important, they'll get back to me, right? Anyway, um, I think it was an element of naivety as well. So not fully understanding what I'm about to walk into. So having the
Mm.
confidence to walk into it, find it out, and then analyze as I go through. I don't know. I don't know.
It's work though. It's working. Like you said,
I
in
hope so.
terms of, it seems so. But and it's, I think one thing you've mentioned a couple of times throughout your career is that when you started a project, Seamus, like the hustle that you brought in terms of the early stages of the cold calling, the like, and cold emails, banging the pavement. That's something I find that nowadays isn't there as much in people as much as it should be.
I like to speak to as many business owners as I can, even from the person doing my hair, like cutting my hair, all the way through to, someone with a multi-billion-dollar business. And I always ask them, what's the biggest challenge that you're finding?
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, two things come back. It's cash flow and it's good staff.
Mm,
Hard workers. They don't exist in Australia anymore currently.
yeah.
A
Why do you think that
lot,
is?
well, a lot of people are telling me there's a few things. One of it is they're just lazy. COVID had a big play, like our government handled COVID and giving us handouts.
Yeah.
Plus, we can rort the system. When I lost my job and I was on COVID, during COVID, and I started this keynote speaking business, I was on Centrelink. I was on the dole. And very quickly I learnt that, there's a few things that you can do and submit and get emails or whatever, and you can stay on it for a very long time and get
Right.
cash jobs. Like you can absolutely rort it. So a lot of people, I mean, think about it. Would you want to work 5 days a week for the same amount, or would you want to work 3 days a week for the same amount? You want to
Oh,
work
it's a
3.
no-brainer. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And not everybody has the desire for more or that hustle. So
Mm.
you're going to get a lot of middle ground people who just want the easy way.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because a lot of people say that that's why nowadays it's probably easier to be a success than it ever has been. Not just because of AI, the technical advancement and so forth, but also because of that point there, that the bar of excellence is the lowest it's ever been. And if you are consistent with the hard work, you will get
Yeah.
results.
All you got to do is work harder than the next person. And supposedly here in Australia, we're not working hard. So it's pretty easy. I think there's another element. One of the things that drives me is one of 4 kids watching my dad slave away at 6 days a week job. I barely saw him. We struggled. We didn't have the money. I was poor growing up. They
Yeah.
busted their chops. The reason why we were poor is because they were paying a mortgage and also sending 4 kids to private school, right? So in the terms of, there's a scale, okay, of poor. To say I went to a private school, okay, you're not that poor, mate. But
Of
that was the sacrifice that living on one income
course.
they had.
Of
So
course.
yeah, we went without because all that money went to the mortgage and the schools.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't have the privilege, right? Anyway. But today, yes, there is a poverty issue. Yes, there's a living crisis, blah, blah, blah. But I do think there are a lot of comforts, a lot of creature comforts
for
that we live
sure.
with that kind of doesn't stem the kick up the ass, because a lot of the people that came here in Australia, they worked their ass off for their kids. And then those kids followed it and then they had kids. Now you've got the third generation that just, they don't need to work hard.
Yeah.
They've got it.
What's that famous quote that it's one of my favorite ones that are saying that strong men make easy times make weak men make hard times make strong men.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the meme. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's saying my granddad walked to work. My dad drove a car. I drove a Mercedes. My son will drive a Ferrari. His son will drive a Rolls Royce, and then his son will go back to walking again.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Like, because I was brought up by a single mum, and we financially struggled all throughout growing up. We didn't have, like it was fun. It was hard to see it as well because my mum was work as much as possible to be able to just provide. And it's interesting because like the work ethic is two things. So I think it really helps and gives you the drive and the hunger to be successful. But I've also realized recently in the last five years or so that it can also limit your breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because of the relationship that I used to have with money. It was more of a scarcity. And so I agree with you. And it's now I'm a father of a beautiful little girl. And I speak to friends about this around how do you pass on the drive, the ambition to that next generation, but also not allowing them to experience the things that we did. So how have you figured that out?
I'm definitely thinking about it. My daughter is she's 19 months old. So
mine's 16 months old.
Yeah.
Close.
So I definitely know that in the future I have a job to do to try and not let her become a spoilt princess with everything at her fingertips, even though that's why I work hard and that's what I want to do. I don't want her to struggle or suffer.
Correct.
But it is the fire in the belly that, churns things over. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It's a hard
one, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. I think what I would like to do, if I could write out the perfect blueprint of an individual's life, it's not necessarily. I think the suffering ignites the fire to keep the fire burning, so to speak. Right, that gives you the energy to continue in the hard times. But I think, if anything, it's the intelligence and the knowledge around supply and demand, how to add value, and how to solve someone's problem. And if you can go at those things unemotionally, you're going to do very, very well. When there's too much fire, sometimes there's too much emotion. And so that supply demand, that adding value, solving someone's problem, they get all wonky because you're not thinking straight. Just going back to what we were talking about right at the beginning is not having that fear, not really caring if it goes off or not. You need that. Do you have that without the fire? Because that fire is like, buy it, sell, take the deal, and it's like, So I think, does information trump the fire? I don't know.
It's that, isn't it? It's because it's what does that, it's interesting because what does that balance look like? But then also it goes, we're sort of going against what we've said before around that we can't be the ones to tell people what to do
Mm-hmm.
based off our experience
Mm-hmm.
because we're still figuring out life as well. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's it's fascinating, and I think that's the beautiful thing about being fatherhood, parenthood, is that it's like you learn with them, and it's like, and you probably found this as well recently, like. I realized more than ever. I was listening to this podcast the other day, and they was talking about the failure and what it takes to be successful. And the example that they used, which really hit home for me, was they used the example of a little child, a baby, in terms of the failure that they go to walking, and they go through this stage where they're crawling, and they at that stage when they are crawling that what they're doing will not have any positive impact to walking. It's not something that you can replicate and then you're off walking, right? And they were referring it as similar to business, and they're saying that when the child then starts to try to walk, they fall down. They consistently fall down, fall down. They hit their head, they hit their arms, and they never ever think to themselves, I'm just going to go back to crawling.
Mm.
And that really, it just like hit because I'm just seeing my baby girl, Alicia, do it. And I'm just like, do you know what? That's it, isn't it? It's just that as we get older and we start seeing the world differently, we then lose that innocence and we become less present and therefore worry too much about what the people will say, the
Mm.
future, the regrets in the past. And now with your talking and obviously your keynotes, I'd love to hear the message that you're trying to deliver when it comes to that, because obviously you have the platform that people are listening to. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see your thoughts around
Mm.
that.
I think I love that they never go back to crawling. And
Yeah.
it is one of those things that when you have the information, you wish you knew the information years ago.
Yeah.
But that's a part of the journey. It's how you got the information more than actually having it itself. Like I've had a couple of like I've just recently gotten really obsessed with fitness, working out
Oh,
at the
yeah.
gym, jujitsu, like
Wicked.
yeah, like obsessive, like to the point where I've got to pull back
Love
because
it.
it's like, bro, like you're getting
Yeah.
a little too
You're
much.
older.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
well.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 35. Like there's no way I'm treating myself like a 20-year-old. Anyway, I'm
Love
sore
it.
and anyway. Um but what it's really teaching me is it's that journey more than anything. I can give you all of the skills, but if you don't know how to use them, they're irrelevant. It's like I
Correct.
had a great chat with with a mate of mine who has a really good business, really successful business, and we just chat business, right? And we just threw around the idea of what about buying a business, one that's already successful and running it to just teach and learn more about business. Then I was like, we were both saying that, yeah, but you need to know how to get one off the ground so you can
Yeah.
fly it. If
Yeah.
you don't know how to get it off the ground, if you don't know what it takes, then you're actually doing yourself a disservice because
Mm.
you won't be able to land. Like if you don't have the skill to get it off, it's like flying. Oh, I can fly.
Mm.
Yeah, but you can't take off or land. Like,
Mm.
if the
Mhm.
system's already put in place, then you don't really acquire anything. You're just doing something. And I think that's the really important part. It's not what you know, it's how you get to a point that you know it.
Yeah, because otherwise you take it for granted.
And you don't understand the importance to it. Like I remember when I was younger, like in primary school, there was a recent conversation I had with someone about racial slurs, sexist comments and things. And I
Right.
remember thinking, geez, am I a bad person? Because when I was in primary school, I would kind of say off the cuff comments, jokes, things.
For sure.
And I remember thinking, that's because I didn't understand the weight. I'd hear the words and I knew that they were naughty, so I'd say them to kind of be
Mm.
rebellious. But I didn't understand the weight to them. And now, knowing the weight, the ramifications, and the impact, there's no way I would use them. Like, there's no way. So just to kind of bring it back is when you're older, I don't know. I lost my train of
But
thought.
does that
But there
get?
is a
No,
connection there between you don't actually understand what you've got. You don't understand the meaning, the
yeah.
weight, the importance if you haven't learnt it.
But then does that? And I think, yeah, and then with that though, does that then, if we did know those things, would that then get in our way to then go on that journey?
Yes, I
Do you know
think
what I
so.
mean? So it's that, and that's where I think parenting is so fascinating, is because it's like, do you like, you pamper, do you try and pave the way for your child to live the best life that you want for them, or are you just getting in the way from them truly fulfilling what they're supposed to do and learn from those hurdles, those falling down and getting up? Do you know what I mean? And that's, I think, becoming a father recently and seeing it in practical reality is had made me understand it at a different level. And I think and that's what I think why, and I think when it comes to entrepreneurship and people's life, whether they're going through any type of hardship, it's realizing you are where you are where you're supposed to be, and you will one day you will look back at this and go, "Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that I went through that." Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and I do think being naive about what you're in for is actually really important, because
Yeah.
otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't do it. Like
Yeah.
the amount of things that I can look back and go, there's no way I would have done that if I knew what it
Oh,
was and if I
yeah.
knew the end result. But then you didn't do it.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
like I touched on addiction and my alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sober, right? And
Yeah.
I remember thinking, if I were to go back to 18, or I think it was 17 or 16 when I got drunk for the first time at 13. Anyway, but like binge drinking properly 18, 17 years of age. If I could go back, I never would have touched it, because I just
Really?
knew I never would have. If I could go back, I'd say don't bother. That road doesn't lead anywhere, right? It's not a fun journey. Seems fun because you have a lot of good times along the way, but in the long run, it's a big dead end and it's very damaging.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have the knowledge. I wouldn't have the experience.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And you actually need that. That's the more important thing than not
Yeah.
knowing it.
And I think that comes back to what we were saying at the start. That's true acceptance,
Mm.
isn't it? It's accepting everything, and then being able to look at it in a grateful way, because we don't have to go far to find someone in a worse situation, and being able to zoom out and have that awareness, and sometimes you don't, like, so, and it's, I think when we're having these types of conversations, when we're starting businesses or speaking to clients, that awareness and that realization of, if you would have asked yourself 5 years ago that you would be in this position having this type of conversation, I would have bit your arm off it. Like, do you know what I mean? And that is hard to do when you're in the thick of things. And sometimes it's just having that, being reminded, whether it's through a conversation, whether it's through writing something down. And I think that's so important nowadays, because the distraction levels is at an all-time high, and people don't put enough things in place to be able to realize those things.
Yeah. And you're right. It's very important to appreciate that the journey brings scratches, bruises, broken limbs. Like,
It's
I did a workout today, and I remember not wanting to do the workout, right? I've got a sore back, my knees are a bit sore, and I'm like, yeah, but that's a part of it. Like, I remember thinking, oh, I should work out when I'm feeling perfect so I can have a really good workout. And I'm like, dude,
it's
no.
discipline, isn't it?
Yeah. No one is at their peak without bruises, ribs, and busted limbs and things like that. Like, I was doing jiu-jitsu the other day, and even the black belt, he had a busted rib and I've had busted fingers and shoulders. And that's the whole point. You accumulate those things along the way. That's the whole point. How much further are you willing to go than someone else?
Yeah, well, it's like like you think about discipline or motivation. Motivation is doing something when you didn't want to do it. That is motivation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And that's where sometimes we don't realize it's feeling the lack or not feeling it and then doing it, or not feeling like shit and then do it and then putting yourself in a better place. It's that is the core of what those positive sayings mean, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Because I guess with all of that, do you spend much time thinking about the future for yourself, for your business, the goals?
Yes, I do, but very differently now. And this is what
I
I
thought
mean by,
so.
yeah, only in the last few months this has changed. I wanted the world now, but I know that the big things take time. The good things take
Yeah.
time, and you don't deserve it now. Like, I've always had this theory that if you know how when people win the lottery and then 5 years later they go broke, like there's two skills: there's acquiring it and then learning how to
Yeah.
keep it, and and it's meaningless if you just get it now. The whole point is the journey, and doing jujitsu. Doing jujitsu has taught me this.
Yeah, of
It's like,
course.
oh man, I want a blue belt, or like I want a black belt. I can go out and buy a black belt today, but I don't have the black belt skills. I can look like a
Yeah.
black belt. I can act like a black belt. I'm going to get my ass kicked. And
Yeah.
what I learned is it's the belt means nothing. All it does is
Correct.
reflect how hard you've worked. And that's the same with the big
Mm,
house, the Rolex, the car, the whatever it is, right? These were wishes of mine once upon a time. Now it's just great times and a good life.
yeah.
And it just takes time.
Yes, and you can't control that.
Yeah. So you got to
Do you know
enjoy
what
the
I
journey
mean?
along the way.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I was having this conversation yesterday. I never had a fear of failure. I'd throw myself in, give it a go, fuck up, and learn from it. I found out I had a fear of success
Yes.
because what it was, similar to what you said, was I'd have a big goal, and then after a couple of months, years of like, well, I'm nowhere near where I'm supposed to be. Maybe I'm not on the right path. I need to swap. I need to change. And then when I started getting closer to it, I'd feel uncomfortable because I wasn't used to, maybe if it was the money, and
Mm-hmm.
I would self sabotage unconsciously to go back to the lack because I was used to that. And so I've, and that's still, it's a daily thing of trying to remind myself to understand that you are where you are supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on what you can control. The rest will take care of itself. And I think when you realize that, wherever you are, on whatever stage you are in your life, you then finally get out of your way and things come to you at a much faster pace than anticipated.
Hugely, man. I fully can relate. Like,
Mhm.
because I think sometimes you just fall into this comfort of trying, falling into the comfort of not having. So then
Yeah.
when you get closer or when you do have, you freak out. Like, for a long time, all I wanted was money. Like, I just wanted more money. I never got paid
Yeah,
much in
man.
radio and television. Then I started getting so much more than I ever thought I could, right? And I got really anxious because I'm like,
Mm,
what do I do with it? What do I do with it? And I just started wanting to, in my head, I would have spent it 10 different ways and panicked
oh, for
because it
sure.
ran back to zero. And then
Yeah.
I'm like freaking out as to what I'm going to buy. And I'm like, Seamus, just slow down. You actually
It's
don't have to
crazy, isn't
buy
it?
anything. Like,
Yeah, I
why are you
know.
buying anything? Who cares? Like,
It's so weird, isn't it? Like, and it's like, it's just getting comfortable with it being there.
yeah, being in
Like,
your hands.
Yeah, it's do you know what? It's interesting because I don't think a lot of people talk about that side. I think so many people talk about the like fear of failure and so forth, but not many, not many talk about the other side. And I think it's more common in people similar to what we're saying in terms of got the hunger, got the drive because of what they've been through when they're growing up and seen the lack of having that
Mm.
financial freedom. And it's so valuable because it's I think in any journey the biggest hurdle and the biggest challenge is getting out of your own way. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
I think another element that I was kind of thinking about recently is because I was so comfortable with no money and not spending any money because I didn't have it. You kind
Yeah.
of forget how little you need, so to
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and how little you actually don't need to spend much.
Mm,
Then, when you have more, it unlocks more purchase opportunity. So it unlocks more things, more levels. And then
hmm
then it's an overwhelming amount of choice. And then the more you
hmm
get, you just have opportunities to buy stuff that you could never buy. So you get overwhelmed with what you should. And
mm,
and then you forget, hey, remember when you had nothing? You weren't worried about this. Who cares? Like, try and have that
yeah, man.
mentality because you don't
Yeah,
need to buy that thing right now. You don't. But
yeah.
you sit there going, oh, I need to do it. I need it. And you're like, why? Just,
Mm,
and it was a real weird. Oh yeah, it was a strange one. Being exposed to more things I can have actually
yeah,
made
yeah,
me more
yeah,
freaked out than when I had nothing.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I used to have this fear. I used to be able to. My addiction was I'd gamble.
Yeah.
And so when I get the money, it'd be I could easily throw money gambling, but then I'd struggle like buying clothes. I'd be like,
Yes.
oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can spend $150 here. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I've just spent like $500, like, and it just and it's like it's like this, and it's weird because then you do it all, and then like a day later, the guilt comes over, and it's like it's like you're just beating yourself up from both
Yeah.
sides, and the person in your head, the ego in your head, which I'm trying to continue to deassociate myself with, is just always negative, negative, negative,
Mm-hmm.
past this, future that, and
Mm.
that's the challenge.
I wonder if, because in my in my keynote, I speak a lot about there are things that our body does to keep us safe, to keep us out of danger.
Yeah.
And one of them is when we're kids, we're scared of the dark because we don't know what's in it. So we invent the monster because our brain goes, if you don't know what's in it, don't go there. It might be something that hurts you. Here, imagine the boogeyman. That'll stop you going there. Just the same with our comfort zone. Our comfort zone is actually designed on purpose. And when you go to step out of your comfort zone, it reminds you of embarrassing moments. Hey, remember that thing happened? Yeah, that might
Mm-hmm.
happen again. So don't do it. It is actually designed to stop you going into harm's way, right?
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, there's no growth in your comfort zone. You've got to learn how to step out of it. And I wonder if there is a correlation between like negative self-talk and beating yourself up and you're attacking yourself and self-sabotage because there is
100%.
comfort,
100%.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's because it's what you know.
Yeah.
So like the voice in the head is the ego that can only live in the past or the future. So if you ever when you're in a quiet moment or you're doing meditation and you listen to the voice in your head, it never talks about the present moment. It can't.
Mm,
Always talks about the past or the future, and it's associated with it. And what's even fascinating is that when it talks about the past and you start to relive things in the past, only about 80, I think it's about 50 to 80% of it is completely false because you're seeing it from where you're basically reliving it in a different way. It's not like, so the emotion that you're feeling now by thinking about what's happened in the past isn't the same emotion that you would have felt back then.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's so fascinating because it's like, you can read these things, you can understand it the consistency of doing it on a daily basis is the challenge. But I think there is a correlation to it massively
There
because it's
must
the
be.
known. It's what it is, and you think about it when it projects itself into the future around if we talk about business or if we're trying to do something new, it bases the future projections of past things and then it wants to protect you. So a lot of psychologists will talk about having the conversation with yourself, saying, "Charlie, it's okay.
Mm.
We're going to be fine." Do
Mm.
you know what I mean? And I think it comes back to what you've mentioned. It's the comfort and I think the more that you do hard things, the more that you challenge yourself and put yourself out of the comfort, that level of comfort increases.
Yes.
Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes. Yes. Wholeheartedly. The further you go, the more comfortable you get. Yeah, and stepping out of it bit by bit. And you're right. It's sitting in the moment. It's sitting in the moment.
Mm,
You know, understanding how we feel about it and exposure therapy in it. And I guess that's
yeah.
why going back to, I had this visual as we were talking about the money. Quickly spend it. It's like I've never had $100 in my hand. Quickly get rid of it.
Yeah,
Right. It's
yeah.
sitting with that $100 going, okay, it's all right. It's not going to burn me. It's not going to do anything. Oh, it's actually not that bad. Actually,
Yeah.
it's easy. And then you never spend it. That's the other problem, never spending it. It's like, dude, don't hold on to money that much.
Yeah. But it's and it comes back to the education, is it? Like, and I think I think the more successful you get, I think the ones that become really successful have the curiosity to keep being open to new ideas,
Yeah.
and I think that it's something I talk about when I train people in sales. It's just like, is sales, how people want to be sold to is evolving every single day. And
It is.
you're naive to think that you don't need to evolve how you communicate effectively your value proposition or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, because of the evolution and the tsunami of the AI and what we've been hit with, it's like people are, from a sales point of view, I think it's fascinating that because of how much free information is out there, people have a baseline knowledge and understand that I know your sales techniques. I know that you're going to try and do this and this, that, the other. I don't want to be spoken to like that,
Yes.
in essence. And they're just wanting someone to connect, trust, to then make their decision.
Yeah, you're so right. And my sales styles have changed and evolved in the last 5 years. When I first
Mm.
started in that cold call, I knew I had 15 seconds to get there. Not even
Yeah.
5 seconds to get their attention, 1 minute
Yeah.
of the pitch if I got through to the right person, right? And in that, it was high value, win them over as fast as I can. Now, like you're right, the amount of times I've gone to buy a car and, oh, what a coincidence, someone else is looking at it that day. So I've really got to put the deposit down now. Like, okay, man, oh, geez, this is pretty rare. They never come along.
Yeah.
I get it. Like everything under the sun, I've seen, I've heard, I've even applied, right? And
Correct.
I remember in all of these emails that I've been receiving with AI reach outs or whatever it is, you're right. It's the lack of trust and one-on-one, and we're people.
Mm.
And so one thing I've tried to do now is just connect on a human level
Yeah.
and just try and not be their friend, but just maybe, because there's a huge notion of like project your success and then that it'll be attractive to other people and they want it. There's also a level of being a human,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Just I can't think of something off the top of my head.
No,
But
no, I won't, I'm going to help you.
yeah,
I was watching one of your videos before. It was, I think 2 years ago. You got onto your YouTube video and was like, I feel like shit.
oh
I'm
yeah,
so,
yeah.
that's what you're talking about.
Yes, it's just showing them that you are a human being. And then
Correct.
and you can just relate to them quick. And that's
For sure.
that's a new little, because I got pitched that the other day, and I'm like, oh, I can hear the script, man. Like, I can hear it, you just want your hands in my pockets. And then
Do you know what
anyway,
I love about cold calling? Like, and I've done it. I've evolved with it as well. And what I love about it now, the ones that do it really well, they are honest
yes.
and they use humor. So there
Yeah.
was a pitch I saw someone on LinkedIn talking about, and I thought, "Do you know what, I'm going to give that one a go." And it literally just went like this. It said, like, Seamus, appreciate you don't know who I am, but this is a cold call. Now, you can tell me to get a real job, or can you give me 30 seconds to try and keep this one?
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard this before. It's great.
Do you know what I mean? And I thought, I'll give it a go. And every single person I did it to, with the right tone and the right pace, they would laugh. And went, do you know what? Give it a go.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about it is, as well, is that what you've done is lowered the resistance straight away, because you sound unique. And then because you're the first person to actually get past that bit, they're actually sometimes really interested because they've never actually heard the value proposition.
Yeah, exactly. It's like in the movie The 8 Mile, where Eminem starts paying himself out first, so he took all the attack away from the opposition. Yeah, it's great.
It'll be say something about me.
Yeah.
They don't know.
It's funny because I have observed the evolution of sales, and I'm like, I mean, like watching, like, even if advertising in the 80s, make sure you reward your female with an 8-carat diamond, 3 months worth of salary, whatever it is, right? Okay. That doesn't work on us now. But, and I was like, hang on, how did it work on us once upon a time? Like, door-to-door salesman selling a milkshake maker, whatever the tacky sales stuff that he used then. How did he work on us then? And then, like, even over the last 20 or 30 years, I don't know, are humans evolving?
I think it's, I bet my personal opinion around it is because the amount of free information and how quick we can get it. So you think about social media and the internet and the AI ChatGPT, is that people now see a lot of the sales stuff. They see advertising everywhere. They see it's in their face consistently. And you even when you go, I don't know if you've noticed it as well. Do you know when you go shopping? In England, it's different to here. If you've ever been, but when you go shopping in England, like they don't come up to you and ask you, "Can I help you?" It's more like, which is weird, because ever since I've come to Australia, I really prefer no one coming up to me.
Yeah.
And that is it's a resistance, like, because straight away, no, it's for fun. I'm just looking. And it's always said, because I see it with everyone. It's always like, no, I don't need your time. Like, it's a negative thing. And that there is because it's like, well, I'm going to figure out what I want by looking around, or I'm coming to the store because I know what I want. And therefore it's like, and it's interesting. I wonder if it will change, because it's just come to me. I wonder if it will ever get to the point where people come up to you and say, "How's your day going?"
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Instead of how can I help and what you're looking for, just being human, and you probably get better results from doing that.
Well, I think there is a lack at the moment. Remember, supply and demand. At the moment, I think the demand is for human contact, human interaction, not social media interaction. And I think there's a lack of it at the moment because of social media. And I've noticed only in the 35 years I've been on this earth, everything has a pendulum swing. Everything is swings and roundabouts. And there's always some impending death. There's always some impending end of the world theory around the corner. And things come and go. There are fads, there are trends, and it comes and goes. So I'm actually not that scared about AI. And I actually don't think it will be as prevalent as what we are. I don't think it'll exist today I don't think what we're predicting it'll be in 10 years, it will be. I think it'll be very, very different. I think it'll evolve in a way that we don't actually can think of now. It'll always be there, I feel,
Mm,
But I'm not scared of it because I've seen these things come and go, and
mm.
it'll be different.
But and I think probably the other reason why you're not scared is because you're that self-aware. Is that I can't control that, so why worry?
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. I mean, I'll either use
Yeah,
it or I won't. Like, or, what are you
yeah,
going to
you
do? I'll
can't
deal
do
with it then.
anything.
Like, it's a robot. It's coming in to shoot me. Well, that's going to be scary at the time, but I'm not freaking out about it now.
That's why I'm doing jujitsu.
Yeah. When I've got my blue belt, mate, I'll.
Yeah. Oh mate, honestly, like this has been fantastic. It really has. And there's three questions,
Yes.
Seamus, that I always like to ask my guests. And the first question is, what does success mean to you?
I think my instant reaction to that is happiness.
Mhm.
So, more than just a feeling, like feeling happy, like a dopamine hit, not that. I mean being okay with who you are and where you are, because
Mm,
there is no cap or limit to success. I will never be an Elon Musk. I will be somewhere between where I am now and Elon Musk, and as long as I'm happy along the way, I think that's all that matters, because what I have learned is if you do stop, if you do quit, if you do give up, you
yeah.
just stop the scale at that level. It will always move until the day I die, as long as I'm happy in the journey. That's the most important thing, because there's nothing worse than getting to the end. Yeah, sweet. I've had this all success, but I've been miserable the whole time. That to
Mm,
me is such a waste.
mm. And I think what can help people with that is understanding that the present moment is all you get.
Yeah, it's true.
And I think that's because what success would mean tomorrow may change. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think what you said is really beautiful.
Mm.
The second question is, so now how you see success and what you view it, what advice would you give an 18-year-old Seamus about how they should view success based off what you've just said?
Honestly, it's the same thing. Like, the reason why I said happiness is one of my television shows that I worked on was in Adelaide. And I
Hmm.
moved out of my family home at 23 years of age, and I went to Adelaide. It was the first time. And I was in a brand new capital city. It was amazing. I was on better money than I thought, blah, 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 blah. I was famous to a degree. I was on national television, but I was friggin' miserable. And I went
Right.
back there recently, and I got up really early, and I walked all around the city, and I walked past my very first house that I lived in, then the second house, and all of these negative memories came back. And I'm like,
Um,
dude, you had an amazing job. You had this incredible time, this amazing experience. Why were you miserable? Because you wanted more.
mm,
Get out. Like,
mm,
are you kidding me? And so there's a black mark over an amazing time. And that's
mm,
why I'm saying happiness. And it's
mm.
because, like, but I guess going back to what we were saying is you don't
It's
know that
part of
until
it.
you build it. That is a part of the journey. So I think what's funny is I'm happy now because I've appreciated it. And like, I appreciate the happiness much more going forward.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, maybe you need it. Maybe you need that black mark over the,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, then the second
It's
answer would be go for it. Don't ever hold back. Go as hard as you can.
love that. Love that. And finally, is success simple?
No, I think what it's very complicated because it's different and there is no end to it and it's subjective.
Mm,
But because it's subjective, it is simple. Like,
hmm.
in the eyes of my 10-year-old self, I'm very successful. But in the eyes of me today, I'm nowhere near as successful as what I am hoping to achieve. So,
Yeah.
so it's like happiness. It's it's simple but hard. It's very complex and simple. Yeah, it's is it is success simple? No.
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 That's cool, man. That's cool. Oh man, honestly, it's been amazing. Like it's flown by.
Yeah, I've
And
loved it, mate.
I've really enjoyed it, man. Like I really have. And you asked me a couple of questions before we jumped on, and I'll tell you one of the main reasons I started this podcast is to have real conversations like this, give people the platform like yourself to be able to share the beautiful things that you've done. And then the other side of it as well is that because of the business that we run around helping businesses to implement AI to help with their sales process, whether it's lead gen or whether it's helping from closing and so forth. I find this is a fantastic opportunity to connect with businesses to really see from who they are and what they're like to whether go, do you know what? I'd love to have a conversation offline based off the values being synergized.
Mm.
And with that being said, so it's like, regardless if we work together from a professional point of view or not, I would love to continue having conversations offline because I think what you're doing is amazing. I think your story is fantastic. I'm sure you would have heard of Jim Quick as well. Have you heard
I
of
have
Jim
heard
Quick?
that name. I have.
You haven't read his book?
No. What is the
Oh,
book?
wow. So I can't remember the name of the book, but basically his story was that at 8 years old, he had an accident, hit his head on like a radiator or something, and basically suffered with brain damage.
Yeah.
In essence, and what it meant that he was slower with learning, and he basically then got this stigma that he was the kid with the damaged brain.
Right.
He then realized growing up that stigma and that name that he had given had formalized into part of this self-belief in who he was. He now is a brain coach.
Wow.
And he now teaches, he now is a fantastic book around how to memorize, and he's worked with famous actors like Will Smith around helping them be able to learn and learn their lines really quickly by teaching them brain techniques.
Got you.
Yeah. And it's a fascinating because it talks about similar to in terms of the flaw into a superpower and not realizing that your identity is that flaw and do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. He has a book that helps, he talks about speed reading and all different techniques. But yeah, I'd love to continue having conversations with you offline and connect. And yeah, man, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Very much enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Enjoy the rest of the night. And I appreciate your time once again.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, man. See ya.